Come on in. Class is about to start.
I'm going to bring in our dream team, Course in Miracles dream team. There they are. Welcome. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh, well, thanks again for those inspiring words. You made me remind this Aries man that when I went to India and heard the stories there of the nuns who renounced the world, and with the idea like, who could be my husband but Shiva?
Very nice.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit to build on that, this idea of healing between masculine and feminine. The Course is always talking about the falseness of healing or forgiveness or prayer is because you see inequality between you and others. So genuine healing is shared. So, way back in our history, it was like education is unfolding what's within you, receiving that and unfolding it. And that's different than penetrating that person and filling it with ideas. So as course students, we just receive this healing inside, and then we share that. We're not filling up something inside them that's empty. We're saying things about our own healing that will help them unfold that healing. Right. So that's a very feminine image. It's not, penetrate the field kind of thing. So
I have a little ditty I'd like to share. This is just based on that masculine feminine thing, but it's kind of cute. It's from Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
He's telling kids, you're okay, however you are, however you're made. Some folks are fancy on the inside. Some folks are fancy on the outside. Everybody's fancy. Everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so is mine. Thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I know.
Every disaster, he said, if you're bummed out, it feels hopeless, look for the helpers. Yeah. That will always relieve that big crisis. Look for the helpers. Look within for your helping. So today, we are doing lesson 113.
113, which is made up of a review of 2 different lessons. And Michael just gave us like an hour's worth of foundation for this. I'm going to just read the 2 lessons and then we'll discuss them.
Yep.
I am one self, and that's with a capital S, united with my Creator. And the other one is, salvation comes from my one self. First of all, you may remember that I don't like the word salvation. Yeah. So I thought about that one this morning as I was doing my practice, and I thought salvation is safety, right? It's just, both of those words come from the same root. Salvation or safety comes from my one self. Another way of saying that is my sense of safety, my sense of no fear comes from not having any conflict in my mind.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
So what seem to be our conflicts with ourselves and everything around us is an inner conflict of these concepts that can't go together. Guilt and innocence can't go together. Pure and love can't. Is that what you mean?
Sure. And when we resolve those opposites into only one true thing,
that's it.
Then we feel safe.
And that is reflecting the oneness here.
It's reflected in the world.
Yeah. We're reflecting the truth of our oneness in the Okay.
So we thought we would talk about the one self, what that means. If we are one self, united with God, and that makes us feel completely safe, fearless, taken care of.
How about whole? Like this idea, I have at that moment of inner peace, I have no unmet needs.
Yeah.
I'm content.
Yeah, I like that word, content.
I'm content now.
Right.
There's nothing that needs to happen for me to be okay.
Right.
Now I'm content.
Hey, you know something? This is a good moment to bring up that first obstacle to peace that comes from
Yep.
chapter 19 in the text. The first obstacle to peace is a desire to not have any peace.
Right.
Desire to be busy, desire to be entertained, desire to be in conflict.
Right. And that the root of that is this hidden attraction to guilt.
Right,
And we hide it because love would never look on guilt.
right.
That's what happens when we're attracted to that guilt, and that's hard to see.
It's hard to see until we realize we're projecting our guilt onto
That's
someone
it.
else.
That's the whole deal.
And as soon as you see that, you say, I'm innocent, but she's guilty.
Right.
I'm loving, but she's angry. I'm okay, and he's not.
Right. So the Course says the dialogue you have with God is, yeah, I got some problems, but them.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
And it's their fault.
I got some issues,
Yeah.
but this one.
Right. Yeah.
So it goes back to this idea of equality of healing.
Right.
Everyone deserves this healing, and
Right.
you're not making comparisons.
Right.
You make the distinctions between
Yeah.
masculine and feminine. You make those distinctions,
Yeah.
but that doesn't affect equality.
Yeah. Right.
Like we
Right.
both deserve it.
Right.
Who's ever messed up, whoever's been whatever, we both deserve forgiveness. And then we get guidance like, don't play that with them anymore or something.
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Before we get too far along, I wonder if we want to talk about how Michael left the last program, which was talking about the falsity of looking for somebody else outside you to fulfill you.
All right, but did we get clear about what you said in terms of the first obstacle is just to get rid of it?
Yeah, we don't want peace. So when we realize that we're churning in our minds, or we're just not happy, look first of all to, do I want peace? Ego says, no, you don't want peace. You want fame, fortune, money, the perfect partner, better furniture, whatever.
Right.
Right? The ego tells you, go make a goal for out of ego self, and live from that.
Right.
And that will not bring you peace. It's like, it tells you, when you get that thing, then you'll be at peace and everything will be so hunky-dory.
Yeah. When you get that thing.
Right.
In the future.
Right. That's the ego's game, where there never is any peace.
That's right.
And so maybe this time, I think I'm hearing from a lot of people that at this time of sequestering,
Yeah.
a lot of people are finding, wow, I've been, my ladder's been up against the wrong wall.
Yeah, a lot of reflection,
Yeah.
self-reflection.
And realizing, hey, this peacefulness, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of the traditional self-inquiry
Mhm.
in meditation and discrimination,
Mhm.
jnana yoga. It's like,
Uh-huh.
who am I? What are my values?
Right.
What am I living for now?
Right. Hey, I don't know if it's appropriate now, but I'm going to just say, because you've referenced India and Indian thought for quite a while. I'd just like to say Timothy, for 20 years, practiced Advaita Vedanta. So he really understands that whole thought system. But now we're in A Course in Miracles for the last, 20 years together. We've been doing only the Course, but still there's a lot of great stories.
Well, that's true, and I think that the parts that are culturally important in another culture in India, like I did that practice, but there were some constructs about our culture
Right.
that were not there.
Right. Yeah.
And so understanding that this has to apply to everyday life.
Right.
So like my practice for 25 years was spirit, not flesh, and that was part of this inspired initiation. But it wasn't until I started doing the Course and recognized this need to forgive the guilt, because you can dissociate out into meditation as easily as you can dissociate out of anything. I mean, so it's like this, like you were saying, we want to get rid of the peace because there's this strange attraction to guilt.
Yeah.
Like the old joke of lovers: when they were good, they were really good. When they were bad, they were better.
Yeah. Like you were just the other day singing that song about bad boys.
They make me feel so good.
Yeah, that's the conflict.
Yeah.
So the one self, so to get back to this idea of one self, which is in both parts of today's review, I am one self united with my Creator, and salvation comes from my one self. We could identify 3 or more parts of that.
We'll do it.
Okay, so the self is the capital S self.
Yeah.
So the one self, if I am identified with my Creator,
Mhm.
then I know that I'm spirit. I'm only spirit. The body is my vehicle.
Yeah.
That's all. It's a useful instrument.
Communication is.
That's what it's for. And if I identify with spirit and one with God, that is the one self. There's nothing outside of that, because everything that's real and of spirit is in God, therefore in me. Okay, so that's the biggest one, and actually our ultimate goal.
Right.
But it's really helpful to claim it constantly.
Absolutely.
Then another duality that we have,
Yeah.
another conflict, is with other people. So,
Right.
as soon as I think that that person is a bad person, what I'm really saying is I'm virtuous, or I'm smarter, or I'm better at that thing than that other person. And there's a duality. There's like, not me and me.
And the comparison to make a difference can be I'm less than them.
Oh yeah, it could be.
Whatever it is, but you're avoiding the equality of that one being.
And not only the equality, the oneness, like drops of water in the ocean. We're
Right.
all one ocean in terms of spirit. So there's that. Then there's also like that bad virus, or that bad earthquake, or that anything that we're casting out as being not part of my mind. The Course does say God's will for us does not include any
Right.
kind of pain.
So let's get clear about that.
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of the truth of ourselves, it really is just a conflict between us and reality. But here, since we seem to have made something outside of ourselves, you're breaking it down like the Course does into 3 distinctions: the conflict within me, my conflict with interpersonally, and my conflict with reality.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of the future. I'm in reality.
Right. So let's just remind ourselves, reality is that which is changeless.
Right.
So that's like God and spirit and everything that's within you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So those 3 distinctions gives us a heads up at what our healing issues are.
Right. And so I didn't get to the point of the inner conflict, and that's the big one.
Yeah.
I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation. I am limitless in power and in peace. That is a claim of who we really are. And all this stuff in our lives, that's not real. It's made by our minds, made by perception, and it can be used. For Holy Spirit, it can be used by the ego. Stuff isn't the point. But the conflict is always, whenever we have a conflict in our minds, whenever we're like, yakety, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, he should have, it should have, blah, 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 blah. That's always ego.
Right.
If we perceive a conflict and we say, Holy Spirit, help me, we're going to the holy instant, we're going to that place of neutrality. And from there, an answer can come that will be peaceful and may have some action on the outer. But
Right.
when we're trying to figure that out, we are not in our one self.
Right. So this first lesson in this series, Miracles Are Seen in the Light, it's our job to negate the false self
Mhm.
but then what we are has to be revealed to us,
Mhm.
even our holy characteristics and our truth. So would you say this is a distinction between how is this the Holy Spirit's voice or is this the ego's? Because the curriculum is in the same domain, right? I mean, the Holy Spirit is teaching us within this seeming world.
Yeah, sure,
right?
sure.
So how do I know the difference between the Holy Spirit and the ego? Well, it seems to be the difference is the ego saying all these things on this level you get, they're ends in themselves.
Yeah. If you get that, then you'll be happy.
Then you'll be satisfied. Whereas the Holy Spirit is saying, don't deny you have needs, food, shelter, clothing, even for friendship or companionship.
Gas.
Whatever. Don't deny
Yeah.
your needs here, but they're means towards the end of the truth of who you
Truth of who we are. And when we put our attention and intention on that line,
Yeah.
then our minds are unified.
Right.
So then my mind is at peace, unified within itself.
Right.
I'm at peace with God. I'm at peace with you. I'm at peace with our housemates. And whatever's going on in the world, I'm at peace with that. I'm not saying I do that all the time. That's the word.
That's the word. So would you say that this is true? Is I define my or your psychological wholeness, your psychological health would be I'm not making unconscious decisions from my drive towards fear and guilt. I'm not making unconscious decisions. I'm making conscious decisions because I see this draw to the guilt, to the fear, to the ego's insistence.
Right.
Right? Would
Yeah.
that? Do you think that distinction would be?
Yeah, I
could be
think
made?
what you're saying. If I'm going to try to paraphrase it and see if I understood it. I think what you're saying is when I see that I've just fallen into a pattern that's bringing me a sense of incompleteness and pain of some sort,
Yeah.
then I know that I've unconsciously chosen with the ego.
Right.
Because we never consciously say, I want pain.
Right.
And so then we can reorient and say, Holy Spirit, help me find the true self.
Right.
Myself that's one with all being.
Okay.
All life, all truth, one with God, one with the angels, one with every human being in their spirit.
Yeah. So
cats, dogs, plants,
so
rocks.
this was one of, remember we were talking about the tools, the repertoire that he's building, our building of skills.
Yeah.
And one of them was looking at the darkness and realizing that learning really is joyful. Learning is not painful.
Right.
So we understand that bringing the darkness up is joyful because it disappears into the truth of the Holy Spirit's learning. It's not painful. You don't have to pay for your mistakes.
You know, there's that really, for any course student who's interested, chapter 13, section 2 or 3, Fear of Redemption. It's really great. It talks about the levels of the mind.
Yeah.
And how we're afraid to look at our darkness. I'm afraid to look at my anger. I'm afraid to look at my depression, really, because I want to think it has something else is causing it.
Right.
I don't want to look at that. That's the top level. We think that if we look at our darkness, we're going to die by our own hand because it's so awful.
Yeah, right. That was in these set of lessons. They'd recoil from you like a snake if they saw you.
That's also, that's right. That's also
crazy.
in lesson 93.
Yeah.
So underneath that is the recognition that we're afraid to look at our darkness because we know that love is there. Love is underneath all pain.
Right.
And fear of redemption is the same as what we were saying about the first obstacle to peace.
Right.
It's like foundational. It's like, don't go there. You will find love. Please stay away.
Yeah.
And it hides it by saying you're going to find how terrible you are. If you look at your darkness, you look at your meanness, the things you did in the past, and how you're motivated and all that. If you look at that, you're going to see awfulness. That's what ego is saying.
Right.
Holy Spirit is saying, you're going to look at that and you're going to see it disappear, because the Holy Spirit just vaporizes it with love.
All right, so this is really important. So let's see if we can make a distinction between sort of the science of psychology, which is always saying you don't look because it's painful. And what the Course is saying, right, is this right? What the Course is saying, that's just the gambit on the top. Yeah, that's what you're telling yourself. Don't look because it'll hurt.
Right.
But like you said, the real reason is some part of us knows that the love is there.
Right.
And that's what we continue to keep escaping. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the really hard part to see.
I know.
But the good news is, he says, if you do this consciously,
Right.
you will choose the love.
Right. So looking at our personal desire to attack ourselves, other people, and God, that's our salvation.
Yeah.
When we look at it, we break through.
And it's joyful.
It's great.
I mean, I can think of at least 5 things that, I mean, I'll be 70 soon, and that, I struggled with a lot of my adult life.
Yeah.
And, starting to do the Course, they just started to melt away.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still there, but we're not nearly as freaked out by it.
Not at all, because we come in moments, in holy instants, we come into recognition of who we really are. Yeah. So I want to just say something.
Are you going to talk about me again?
Oh, how much I love you.
Okay.
Yeah. So Michael was talking about the twin flame and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
The split apart.
As if we are split apart.
That was the Greek idea, You're always seeking the soulmate. You're split
Is
apart.
that right?
Yeah,
that far?
They believed in reincarnation, the Greeks.
Yeah.
That's how they could explain your ability to do mathematics, is innately. You have a language faculty. You have a faculty for music. You have a faculty for beauty. I mean,
and he thinks it doesn't matter how
anyway,
they thought.
Right.
So the idea of being incomplete and needing someone to complete you is not at all what the Course is teaching. It's teaching us find the completion within yourself, which is this true self, the one self. And when you find that, then your love just expands everywhere.
Right.
And certain people you'll live with, certain people you won't, but that's not the point. It's not the form.
So that's how we can share it, right? And share it equally, is we recognize the same self is there.
Right.
So is that how he describes the teacher of God or teacher of love, is one who recognizes their interests are not different from mine?
Yeah.
Right. So when I'm willing to offer forgiveness to others as much as I want it,
right,
then I think we're in the real self.
That was a lesson I got from my father, my dad.
Yeah.
He would make his decisions based on how it affected everybody.
Yeah.
That's just like how he was. And it gave him such integrity.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't coming from what can I get out of this thing. It was really a beautiful, beautiful lesson to observe.
and your mom was a super strong woman, and he was raising 6 daughters and one son.
Yeah.
And you were the number 1 daughter.
Yeah.
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 But he was like that. He when you're like concerned with all concern, not just the little.
Yeah. Then it's approaching the one self.
Right.
It's recognizing more and more. So let's say we have a decision to make. Maybe it's about how we're using the house, rather than me making the decision by myself or you alone or even just the 2 of us.
Right.
We take into consideration, how does that impact our housemates?
Right.
How does that work for the animals in the neighborhood?
Right.
If we're thinking about, we don't think about this, but if we were thinking about poisoning mice, how does that impact the hawks?
Right.
So you take into account everything, and you have a much greater sense of self.
Right.
It's just so much more beautiful.
And would you say it's true that sometimes it really is all about you? Right?
I'm sure it is.
Well,
I mean,
Well, like my food anxiety, right?
Yeah.
I had this, and I just had to deal with that.
Well, that's ego,
Yeah.
right?
But I mean, that was here. It wasn't about our household decisions or the larger things. It was.
You had to deal with it in yourself.
Yeah, and you're always
Yes.
doing that, of course, but we do make those distinctions.
Well, that's why it's always about my upset is about me forgiving. My upset is not about us.
Yeah.
All of the upsets come from ego, come from my belief that I am one individual separate being, and that's where it's got to be healed.
That's right. So we share this one self.
Yep.
And therefore we share the atonement, we
Yep.
share the miracles, we share everything.
So this, for those of you who want to participate in the course practice today, it asks us in this whole set area of the course, take 5 minutes morning and evening to think about these lessons, and then every half an hour choose one and think about it just for a minute.
So would you, we're getting towards, do you want to do one of these for a minute? No?
I'll do it as a guided thing.
Okay.
Okay. From the lesson itself, I am one self. If you want to, I'll just read this or say the prayer slowly, and you can just kind of internalize it for yourself. If you want to keep your eyes closed, that'd be great. If not, that's fine.
So can I just add this? So you hold the lesson and you apply it to your needs, seeming problems, all your concerns, right? So we make the connection with all of the mind.
Right. I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation. I am limitless in power and in peace. Thank you for being with us. It's a pleasure.